Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'll be your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, panelists Brad Ellis.
Yo.
Ben Moore.
Kapow!
And my anniversary celebrating co-moderator, Daniel Bloodworth.
Hello.
Whee! Distinguished guests, we are here to discuss some of the biggest events in the world of video games. But before we do that, we must first answer for all the mistakes we made last week. Bloodworth, begin corrections music, please. Boop. Square Enix still owns Hitman. They just licensed it out to IO Interactive. If you look at the fine print, I guess that was, some people reported that incorrectly, but apparently, if you check the receipts, Square Enix still owns that. Last of Us Part 2 features 6 types of infected, not 7. Nice try, Huber. I knew this would be contentious, but somebody gave us another score. The fastest Doom Eternal speedrun is apparently 18 minutes, 58 seconds. The 68 minutes is the no major glitches category of speedruns.
Okay, I was going to say, pretty sure people broke
probably
that.
faster than that, yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, any video game probably has an under hour.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's an RPG or whatever, like, somebody found a way to beat that. And a lot of people just, shout out to people who were very interested in it, thought that we should have discussed the PSVR 2 controllers more. There were about 4 or 5 comments of people who were like, they didn't talk about it at all. We did cover it and also this week, but they look cool, and I'm assuming there's gonna be a time where we're gonna get a big info dump on PSVR 2, so that's what I really want to dig in. And we had previously talked about just the concept of them returning to it, so it has been covered a bit, but we did not deep dive into it, so apologies to those people that mentioned that. End corrections music, please. Let's start this off on the right note with some good news, something in video games that we can be proud of, a silver lining for this last week from Aurelien Grenier. Hello, allies, I'm sure that you're going to talk about it. I was not. And as a French guy myself, I feel I have to let you know, so here it is. Microids just announced a new Asterix and Obelix game. As a 2D beat 'em up for PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch, Asterix et Obelix Bafez le Tout. Sorry, I don't know the English title. I don't either. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find it. Check the trailer.
I don't know that there is an
great.
English title, to be honest.
Love and respect and happy birthday. Panelists, Asterix and Obelix. When I say that, can you kind of get a rough image in your mind? Brad does not. Okay.
Yeah.
I have no reference.
I know the names because I work in video games. That's the end of it.
And now that I say yes, let me
I do not recall if this is a comic book or a comic strip or both. Kind of like Garfield. It's like you can buy a Garfield book, but it's really
I
just
didn't
a
know there was
strip.
a movie, but yes, I'm familiar with this character.
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, these are
These characters, I guess I should say.
Yeah. And it looks great. It's kind of a 2D animated, very much brings these characters to life, and it looks like a fun beat 'em up. There's one thing where I do not know my Asterix from my Obelix, but the bigger guy grabs somebody and just slaps him in the face. It looks kind of fun. And I always love just people. Obviously, not. I want to hear about game announcements from other countries, but game announcements for franchises that are not on our radar at all. So thank you, Aurelien, for updating us on that.
I know these
yeah,
guys,
those dudes.
Yeah.
Of course.
They always remind me of the Lost Vikings when I see
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. There was an Asterix Genesis game
them. Yeah, that sounds right.
that I think I played.
Cool.
Yeah.
If you could research that before next podcast, it'd be great.
Yeah,
But
same
come
correction next week.
and let me know definitively if you played that.
No way of knowing.
I would say the Future Games Show Spring Showcase gave us literally the most minimum amount of time before the recording of this podcast to research what the heck happened. This was the hour and a half, almost 2 hours.
It
said it was going to be an hour, but it was.
I think it was an hour and a
long.
half for the quote-unquote main show, and then 15 minutes for the pre-show.
You had some pre-show shade before this pre-show.
I just don't understand it. If your pre-show is just you gonna be doing the same thing that you do in the main show with a different host, to just do the show. It just makes everything in the pre-show sound like it's lesser than, for no good reason. When some of these trailers that were in the pre-show, I was like, that looks better than a lot of the things I saw in the main show, so why?
For people, for clarity, this is Games Radar's press conference that they have done. I think it's the third or fourth?
I think they said the third one. So
and
the
there's gonna be
first
two
one was
more,
like
apparently, this
a
year?
replacement for E3 last year, and then they did one around Gamescom.
Yeah.
So
Do you feel that way, Blood, about all press conferences? Like, can not even Xbox have a pre-show, or is that? Because like Ubisoft's pre-show is usually not that
Basically.
exciting. It's usually just like, hey, here's Rainbow Six Siege, here's some other stuff that is already out that will let you know what the community's up to.
Like basically to me, like a pre-show, like it makes sense. Like when we do a pre-show because we're speculating, it's like what's gonna be there, and and that sort of thing. And if you have like some kind of like hosts discussing things, and maybe like if it's official, like that, speculation would make a heck of a lot of sense. But it should be different content than more game reveals and trailer reveals, or
Right.
maybe I just don't see the need to pre-show by doing the same exact thing.
One of the big things that they were pushing before was the Lord of the Rings Gollum, an official gameplay teaser, 48 seconds long, not including obviously titles and whatnot. I need an immediate hype check from anyone who feels like speaking
Okay.
up about the Lord of the Rings Gollum.
I have a very specific thing to say. The spiders look really gnarly, and because you're playing as such a small character, I think that will make them even gnarlier. So it might be a tough
Oh.
game for me to play.
I think there's gonna be a lot of spiders in that game, Ben.
Yeah,
Completely unarmed,
yeah.
Yeah.
Might be tough. Might be a tough one.
I would venture to say that Gollum has no items either. I think this is mostly just going to be
I bet you'll
exploration.
like pick up a rock or something,
Yeah.
throw a rock at an orc.
Well, the
I think
previews,
he's going to use a gun.
Yeah, the previews seem to be,
Lots.
be a better gauge of like what this game actually is, right? Like, I think you saw Gollum like shimmy across a ledge once, and that was the closest you got to gameplay. Yeah, he's walking on like a balcony at one point too, but yeah, it seems to me like they're going for like a mix of like a stealth game with more agility. But then they also talked about there being sort of like these like choices, like how to deal with things that like they kind of had. I saw a screenshot that they had like 2 choices from the Gollum personality side and 2 choices from the Smeagol personality side. Like, and there's, and the example they gave kind of essentially boiled down like, do you like kill this guard or not? But yeah, it'll be curious to see how it plays out. They said that the footage they saw was like from 10 months ago. So, it's not exactly representative of
10 months.
where the game is today.
Whoa, it's quite a gap.
Can make a whole video game in 10 months.
I don't.
Knights of the
Go ahead.
Republic 2 was made in 10 months.
This game, I'm super intrigued by this game just because Gollum is such a weird thing to play as in a video game.
Agreed.
Set in the Lord of the Rings universe, you think of like swords, knights, or whatever, elves, dwarves. It's like, no. You're going to be Gollum. I'm like, oh, really now? Like, what a weird character to be. I'm into it.
I am not excited to play as Gollum, and I'm not sure I know why. There's just something about this game that I'm not excited about. I think the Lord of the Rings universe is cool, but I wonder if part of it is like I already know Gollum's story. Like I
Right.
know his origins. I know the arc that he goes through. I know how things end up for him. And I wonder if like that is part of it in a weird way. I don't know.
Yeah, how's this going to end? Where are we going? as
Right, 'cause
Gollum?
this is-
like,
this
what's-
is
Oh, I
when
mean,
he's
you're
escaping.
escaping
Aspirations.
Barad-dûr.
Yeah.
You're escaping it, so you're running out of like the most intense place in all of Middle Earth, I guess.
But they
And
do
it'll
say that
probably-
you're going to encounter Shelob.
Yeah, you're gonna
get-
encounter Shelob. They'll probably make that deal or whatever to get orcs for her and all that stuff. And he'll go to Dale and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I don't know, but it'll probably end up like him chasing the Fellowship or something.
I started reading Fellowship with my boy. I did
Oh,
most of
wow.
the reading. He just kind of sat there and watched. This was back when you could just say anything to him. Now he's actually listening and sometimes returning words back to you. But I think one of the things that shocked me the most about reading that was that like Aragorn and Gandalf like tortured him.
They interrogate him. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Gandalf specifically says the T word. I think he's literally like, so, we got him together and I lit him on fire and we asked him a bunch of questions. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, Gollum gets around. Like if your only experience of Gollum is just those films, it seems like he's just hanging out in a cave a lot of the time and maybe crawling around on rocks and
I
that's
mean,
about
there's
it.
like
But like he's
70 years or something
yeah.
from The Hobbit to Lord of the Rings, something like that. So can do a lot of stuff during that.
He has observed many things. I think the thing for me, Ben, is this has been built up so much. We found out this was in development so long ago, and then seeing it today, having this weird not cryptic, but like having this strange preview that's based on old footage, having like a very short gameplay trailer. There's just a lot of like crawling. I'm mostly curious, I think, just to get another person's take on Lord of the Rings. It's been a while. You know, we have the show that's in development that we haven't really seen anything out of yet. But there were moments of the trailer where there's this reveal of kind of big environments. And so always curious of a different take. Shout out to the old animated films if you want to go check those out, if you've never seen them.
The Lord of the Rings one's weird.
Yeah.
If you've not seen that one, that one's weird.
I'm not sure if this is the type of game. I think they're so stoked about the Lord of the Rings IP that they are playing this up a little bit more maybe than they should, which feels bad because I don't want to downplay a game I haven't played.
I kind of agree. I think they should. I think maybe they won't get the reception they think yet. Like, judging by you and Ben, you're just kind of like, it's like, think if they showed a little more and you had a better idea of the game.
Yeah. I don't think that's true.
Enough of seeing Gollum crawl through bare doors enough for most people to get excited.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that way about a lot of this stuff, and I know, like, obviously the team putting the show together probably doesn't have any say over how long any of these trailers are.
Sure.
But that's one of the things that stuck out to me as we got further and further into this. That there's like 40 plus games in this showcase, and there are a lot of them that, we get something like this Gollum trailer that is just very brief, a little bit of a teaser and a title, and I'm like, okay, and I know there is some value to that. Like, some of these things are going to connect to people. Like the Subrosa trailer, got Huber to download that right away and check it out. But in some ways, I feel like having that much stuff when it's that brief, it makes me feel like it's hard to find the takeaways. There's not enough to really latch onto to really get your attention in a lot of these cases.
I think it's compounded by the fact that we knew about this game a long time ago.
Yeah.
And, showing it again now, I don't really feel like I know substantially more than I did before. And I think that's a big problem with it is I just want to, like, really see Gollum. Like, I want, like, a dev walkthrough. Like, okay, we're going to go through this level and show you what you can expect. That's where I'm
you
at.
want to see what it's like to actually play.
Yes.
I feel bad too because while I am excited that we're getting someone else's take on Middle Earth, there's going to be a fairly sizable crowd that's just going to see this on Steam and be like, Lord of the what? What? And like click on it and like, whoa, what's this? And it's like, it's a new thing. It's not based on, they're just so in love with the Peter Jackson universe, but are just missed these announcements and just actually don't know this game is coming. And so I don't want them to like review bomb it or there should be a negative online sentiment because people just had expectations because it came out of nowhere. Interesting use of an IP. Hope that game is interesting. I mean, I'm always that is a fun world to explore. But even I don't know if you recall the kind of like cartoony looking Aragorn game. I think that was like just on GameCube or something, or like what was it?
No, it was more Wii era. I know what you're talking about.
It's just on the Wii, yeah.
It wasn't just on there, but it was on it.
I remember maybe I'm just assuming
like
that the
Aragorn's
visuals
Quest,
were
right?
Aragorn's Quest, correct. That didn't pull me in, so I don't know if Gollum will, but we will see. I'll tell you what I cherry picked were the 4 reveals from what I can tell. Went to Games Radar's YouTube page, and these were listed as reveals. 4 of these suckers passed on these trailers to the panelists. Go over these very briefly. Arctic Awakening. Episodic series. I love that I wrote down Firewatch vibes, and that's the first thing Daniel Bloodworth said as well.
It's immediate. Yep.
Yeah.
Firewatch with a robot. Yeah.
You're a dude alone in the snow with a robot. Thought it was a fairly emotional trailer because you're listening to his sister and someone else talk about your character who is missing. And whether, you brought this upon yourself, whether you're up there searching for something, whether, you start in a plane, did that plane crash by accident? Or, it'll be interesting to see if that's just for the trailer or if you're going to be listening to this the whole time, maybe something that he himself isn't able to listen to. And there's a little floating robot with a smiley face following you around. That'll be on Steam and quote unquote consoles in 2022. fling to the finish feels like a game that we played before. What did we just play?
I felt the exact same way, Brandon.
The one we played was 2D, and you had like you're
Heave-ho.
crafting onto each other. Heave ho, yeah.
Heave ho.
But this one, like, you're permanently linked.
Yes, but there was also the worm game that we just played.
I
What was
played with
that?
Ian.
So it's like a combination of the two, where you are two balls attached, and it is couch co-op and online co-op. You're performing platforming puzzles. Couldn't tell if these were like streamers I should know that were in this trailer, or if it was just the dev
I'm not sure.
crew being way more excited than they probably were,
Right.
because it's probably like the 500th time they played the game. But that'll be on Steam second half of 2021. My damn fault for getting way too excited about a game called Haunted Space. I was like, yes, here we go. Then we get in. It is a space shooter, which was not what I was expecting. Getting into that, you are fighting aliens. You're harvesting matter, and the aliens were not happy about that, and so they showed up.
They showed a customization shot of, like, very briefly that almost made me feel like nuts and bolts in space, but I don't know. Like, there wasn't enough there to really pick up on it.
Yeah. Lots of weird alien stuff. So like lots of, potentially interesting environments to explore along with just space combat. PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Steam. No release date. Life of Delta, post-apocalyptic robot point-and-click adventure game, which should be its own genre of post-apocalyptic games, I think. The robot point-and-click. I've seen several. That is to be just on PC, and couldn't see a date for that as well.
It looks really nice, though.
Yeah, kind of the kind of 2D hand-drawn vibe, but I think still a lot of depth to it, and just a very interesting. Don't recall seeing any humans in this. I think it was just mostly like a robot world and some crazy looking aliens
Robots
and stuff.
Yeah, they're like guys that look like Rocksteady and Bebop, basically.
I'm a sucker for the robot picking up an item and then his chest opens up and he like puts the item inside of him and then the chest closes. It's like,
Yeah, that's cool.
I love that stuff. And updates on Axiom Verge 2, Shadow Tactics, Blades of the Shogun, Glitch Punk, Ink Lunati, Returnal, Chris Tales, Naraka Blade Point, Savior, Quantum Error of Bird and Cage, It Takes Two, which Blood and I are playing tomorrow, Game Deck, Ember, Kathy Rain, Director's Cut, today if you're listening to this podcast, Early Access, Team 17 Montage, Back for Blood, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, The Longest Road on Earth, Green Hell, Operation Tango, Oddworld Soulstorm, which is everywhere. If you have an event, you're going to get a call
Every show,
from
baby.
Oddworld Soulstorm. Serial Cleaner, Elite Dangerous Odyssey, Don't Forget Me, Fire Commander, War Hospital, Lost Words Beyond the Page, Sub Rosa, which Blood mentioned, and Huber's psyched for, Life is Strange True Colors, which was just announced, Martha is Dead, Flesh Flies, Humankind, Sifu, and wrapping it up with Kena Bridge of Spirits. Another brief look at that game. Anything on that list
Kana.
stand out to
They
you?
did say Kana in this
sorry.
trailer.
It's Kana?
They did.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah, one thing that was
Twist
interesting
Kana.
in the Life is Strange dev diary is that they did make it kind of clear. I mean, maybe they'll go back on this eventually, but they did make it sound like they are moving away from using numbers for this series. Like they talked about it as an anthology where they want people to be able to jump in at any point. And so you'll see connections to other games in the series, but they don't necessarily have to be played in a specific order.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if we'll see any smaller games potentially, or if they're all going to kind of be, not necessarily
Right.
episodic, but
Smaller stuff, right?
something.
Like the
Yeah.
Captain Spirit thing was smaller.
Yeah.
Well, Captain Spirit was kind of like essentially a demo for Life is Strange 2.
Yeah, it's like a prologue.
It was
for
very, very brief.
So that was shorter than one chapter of Life is Strange typically is.
Yeah.
I never got around.
Yeah,
to
I
it.
think so.
But thank you, Future Game Showcase, hosted by voice actors. Every time they bring in there, they get some new.
Oh, that was so funny, dude. They just
That was,
kept making bad Resident Evil jokes.
Yeah. It was
See,
Jill
that's-
and Carlos from the remake.
Yeah, that was what was nice about the way I checked it. I just went straight to the trailers, so it's always nice to just. I don't envy people that have to write that banter. I don't envy people that have to say that banter. But
Well, the part of it was funny to me is it was like they just kept mixing together things that happened to the characters, but then using their real names. So like, oh, this is one that happened to you, Jeff, and I'm like, but that happened to Carlos. But okay.
and shout out to Hidden Deep. which we mentioned before. I don't know.
That was in the pre-show, yeah.
Brad or Ben, if you were on the podcast when we talked about that, but Blood pitched us Hidden Deep, which is
is that the
exploring
underground
caves
game?
and sending out.
Oh
tech
yeah, that
and,
game looks crazy.
Yeah, you're lots of Thing vibes. Those people have
Yeah.
definitely seen The Thing on several occasions. It is time to talk about stuff that has not happened yet and might not. We have 2 topics here, 2 headlines of things that people are talking about but could totally not happen, which is so much fun, but let's speculate anyway. Starting off, Microsoft apparently wants to buy Discord. The headline should really be that Discord wants to be bought.
Yes.
Or not. Some people are saying, well, it might not happen. They might go public, but Microsoft specifically, it wants to step in and purchase that Discord there. Potentially one of several companies that are interested in. Rumor is that Discord is being valued at $10 billion.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Cheddar.
Is that too much money? Is that just enough money? What do you think,
I
Ben?
think that might be too much money. I think that's some COVID boost going on there because everyone's using Discord right now.
I mean, Discord, by and large, has kind of become the de facto way that
Online.
gaming communities
Yeah.
talk with each other. And to its credit, I think it's an excellent platform in a lot of ways. As far as functionality goes, I really like a lot of the things Discord has and how it's laid up and stuff. So it's very useful. 10 billion is just such an incredible sum.
Yeah, I just think of Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion. You know,
Right.
Whoa, good comparison. Whoa.
It's like, I don't know how much Microsoft paid for
More
Bethesda.
than double Star Wars.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a heck of a platform. Do we trust the company that shuttered Mixer to handle Discord?
And Skype is garbage.
Yeah.
Don't they run that?
But
That's
Skype
the
was
thing is,
always
Skype
garbage.
and Mixer were not great when they were bought.
Right.
I think Microsoft was hoping Mixer could actually pull it out and use their resources and use a lot of money and get some of those personalities on there and take on Twitch, and it just didn't work. All that they invested made no difference, even though Mixer was arguably a better product in a lot of ways.
I wonder if this means, let's say Microsoft does go ahead and purchase Discord. Would there be a Discord app on Xbox that would allow you to talk to people who aren't necessarily on Xbox without having to be on mobile or at your computer?
That'd be great. Yeah. If it had built in.
Yeah, that would be really nice to have built in. What's funny is they just released that headset, and one of those features is that you could essentially pair it up with your phone or Discord, through your
nice.
phone.
That's cool.
At the same time that you're listening to your Xbox.
That is a useful feature.
Yeah.
Microsoft is spending so much money. Does that seem
They
odd
got a lot.
to anybody? It just seem I've just heard I've heard so many acquisition rumors and news coming out of Microsoft, and it's just crazy to me. I don't know if they're necessarily in a position to do that, if this is obviously more of the Microsoft side than the Xbox game division side that is bringing in the revenue to support this. And obviously
Right.
there's ways that a company like Microsoft can leverage a platform, whether it's primarily used for gaming or not. But I just don't know how they're going to get a return on this. Microsoft seems to be so focused on future investment now, as opposed to something that's going to pay off.
Do you think it's wrong to say, though, that that's kind of Microsoft's thing? I feel like every so often Microsoft, over the many years has just acquired
Yeah.
a multitude. It's just a strategy that they continually employ.
Epic as well. Those two of them are just... You do not want to play Microsoft or Epic in Monopoly. You just don't, they're just going to get... They're just going to land. If you're playing with Microsoft and they land on a property, you just hand them the card. They're going to buy it. They're not going to pass up on it. Doesn't matter what it is. Or
Yeah, I mean, I
they'll
think,
take it.
the fear, of course, if any, is, that Microsoft would somehow take Discord away from everything else, that you would need to use it through Xbox or something just stupidly strange. But I don't know how that would even
Right.
happen, I don't know how they could make that happen. But
Oh my God. If you had to open the Xbox app on your PC to get to Discord.
oh gosh, yeah.
I think the
Gross.
a good comparison is needing to use your Facebook account with Oculus, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the kind of situation you want to
Oh
avoid.
man.
Well, who potentially wouldn't do that? I'm seeing Google thrown around, Twitter, Amazon, Apple. Who would you like to own Discord, or no one? What would be the
No
preferred
one.
I
option?
think I'd like Easy Alice to own it. I think you
Sure.
could do some things with it.
Sure. Hey, 5 years old. We'll put it on the list for the next 5.
I mean, Amazon wouldn't necessarily be bad, but they already have so much stuff. I wouldn't really want them to have more stuff. I mean, Epic might be a pretty decent one because they've already done so much push to have cross-platform play. I would really love to see a Discord app on every console, but
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, are there any, Ben, as somebody who enjoys the Discord, are there any aspirations that you've had for Discord, or is there somebody that you felt Discord has fallen short and could potentially grow with more capital?
No, because Brandon, I think the problem that happens a lot of times is things get popular and then they kind of, their simplicity gets ruined. And so I think the reason why Discord is good, and we've seen this just throughout our own company, because we use it. We use it to, when we stream, we'll get on Discord. And, in a couple of clicks, it's easy to get on voice. It's easy to turn on your camera. It's easy to share your screen and stream a game. It all happens very, very easily. And you can customize a server in a way where it's okay, I want these channels. I want things organized in this way. So do I have any grand ambitions for it? No, I just like it because I think it works well. My fear is that it would get more cumbersome.
yeah. And we actually have, use it a fair amount with previews and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With the Ubisoft previews,
Yeah,
we would be in
yeah,
Discord
use it.
and you'd all show up to a central meeting room and get a pitch and it's okay, and just wait, and your demoist will take you into another place and they'll just hang out with you while you play the game. And it was just it did feel like it was just a very smooth transition to where the people that really know what they're doing with it can do a lot more than even the average user.
I just need to call out and say for the Monster Hunter Rise review, what they did is they actually set up a Monster Hunter Rise, press influencer Discord so people could get on there and talk to each other and answer questions and get on voice chat with each other and easily set up games. And it's so much better that I wish every company that had a multiplayer game did this. It's so great. Because it's so much better than when you're doing a review and they're okay, we're gonna host sessions for this small window, and people can't kind of organically get in games when they have the time. So shout outs to Capcom. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Do you think that is one way that if Microsoft owned Discord, they could box people out of doing that? Of other publishers? I don't know. I don't know if that's what they could track that or something. But
Right.
that
Yeah,
more
not saying
for-
it's going to happen, but again, anything that creates more hurdles, I would be
Right.
nervous about.
I could see it being one of these things where again, Microsoft isn't boxing people out, but sort of similar to when you hear everybody else talking about using Zoom and then you get to an Xbox conference and they're talking about Microsoft Teams, right? PlayStation suddenly wouldn't want to use Discord for this kind of a thing because, that's a Microsoft thing. We don't want to, that'll kind of be off-brand. So
It's interesting, Ben, doing preview events on Discord because you wouldn't necessarily see this at an in-person preview event. You would go and there'd be little cliques and people talking and you see friends or something and you catch up before they actually start the event. But whenever you do something on Discord, there's always that one person who's hi, everybody. And they come in, you're okay.
Yeah.
And they're how's everybody doing? Got my coffee? Let's play some games. And it's just imagine at a preview event, somebody walk into the middle of the room hello. And you're oh, hi. Get on Discord, it works. It works. Yeah, I'm not quote using Discord more. I've completely come around to Discord in the last 12 months. In February of 2020,
I had to dig
was
up the login info because we had used Discord for something when we had first started, and then I didn't need it for 4 years. Oh, okay, let's do this.
You touched on something too, Ben, that is a concern I have in general for 2022, which is 2020 and what looks to be half, if not the majority of 2021, has been very adversely affected by, this global pandemic. And it's risen a lot of boats for a lot of people. Sales are just out of control. Records are being broken month by month. And it makes me nervous if people are setting expectations there, or you have investors or you have boards that are just like, next year, make that amount was great. Make that. And it's like, we can't, man, you can't, the world changed, so I'm nervous that, people are buying stuff or setting their expectations way too high because it's a different world we live in than we'll probably be living in 6 months from now.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, but I think the thing that is interesting there is I feel like for a lot of companies, right, you just get used to doing things a certain way, and so you just kind of do that until you can't anymore. And with the pandemic, right, it was specifically like preview events and stuff, you couldn't do them the way that they traditionally do them, and so they all had to find alternative ways to do them and coordinate them and that sort of thing. Now that they've done that, they're more comfortable with it, and I wonder if they'll lean more on those utilities in the future. And I think you can apply that mindset to a lot of things.
Do we want to buy a bunch of plane tickets again?
Right, exactly.
Do we want to deal with people not getting cabs and showing up late?
I think it'll be a mix, but I think for sure there will be an increase in this type of preview coverage. And in a way, it sort of balances out because I think there's been a decrease in the past 5 or 6 years of people just sending out code. Like when we used to have debug units and stuff, and I'm sure that there's still some outlets that have debug units like IGN and GameSpot. But at Game Trailers, debug units is pretty much how you played anything pre-release. And you'd have to go through some pretty crazy hurdles with certain companies. But that kind of, sort of dried up, and so the only preview code you would get would be Steam, and it was either Steam or it'd be an in-person event. And so now I think with Discord and with the NVIDIA GeForce Now and like a lot of these other like streaming, what's the other one I'm thinking of? Parsec, stuff like that. It gives different opportunities for preview events to not just be in person.
This story was reported by one outlet, and then a bunch of people reported that they reported it, and no one has confirmed this. Doesn't happen often. This is a fascinating way for news like this to go out. Something that might be happening soon. We have dates here, but I assume is going to happen eventually. According to The Gamer, PS3 Vita and PSP stores are closing. The PSP and PS3 stores will close on July 2nd. The PS Vita stores will close on August 27th. Obviously, these things are not going to run forever. But there's been I don't know if I would call it panic, but this has been an interesting week to kind of reevaluate where we are at with game preservation, obviously, and the current status of these marketplaces. Obviously, Vita fans are, a small community, but a very vocal community. People that are very passionate about that console. But yeah, I just expect these things to happen. So when news like this comes out, I kind of go back and forth between, well, obviously, but also at the same time, I feel bad for people that, might potentially want to pick things up or want there to be a place where I can digitally go get this stuff.
Yeah. I'm more worried about if you'll not be able to download the games you bought anymore digitally. I was like, oh god, I gotta get Parasite Eve 2 right now before it goes away, dude. I better make sure it's downloaded so I can play it.
Yeah, I think that is a question mark for me right now, because there's a lot of panic when Nintendo announced that the Wii Shop closed, and I was like trying to download everything as quickly as I could, even though like I read it and I'm like, they aren't saying that you won't be able to download things. They actually are saying that you'll be able to download things for quite a while after this. They were just closing the ability to buy new things, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm curious when, all this stuff shakes out, whether it will be a similar type of thing with the PlayStation stores, whether you just won't be able to buy anything, but for the time being, you'll still be able to download the purchases you've already made. I'm also curious whether they'll have if this is going to transition to some other service, right? If somehow they're going to announce some other way to connect those purchases to your PlayStation 5, and I don't know.
I think if they do that, Blood, that's A-okay, and I'd be very happy about that, but it is annoying if this goes away and I will not be able to play my PS1 games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. On both Nintendo and Sony's case, it would be a lot easier to swallow if there was a suitable replacement. And in both cases, there's not. There's nothing on the Switch, for instance, that comes close to the Wii U and Wii eShop in terms of variety. And there was nothing on the PS4 that came close to the PS1 classics on PS3. And I think that's what's so infuriating is if you care about this stuff, you invest in it. In some cases, you invest heavily in it, and then it just feels like it kind of gets abandoned or goes away. And I really don't like that.
This might be naive of me, but Blood, in the eShop example that you gave, from a totally insensitive business perspective, it's wild to me to not allow people to buy stuff anymore, but they can still download. It's like, well, now you're not making any money, and you're spending money on servers.
Right.
Why? I guess just to make your audience happy, but that's strange to me, to remove the option to give us money, but then you can still access servers that we have to pay for.
Sure. Yeah, but I think that is part of, like this kind of pushback is part of the thing. It's like you quote unquote own this game, although, like technically you just have a license to use it or whatever, right? But if you own these things, I think there is sort of a higher expectation for them to kind of keep that stuff available. At the same time, having gone and downloaded 400 games from the Wii shop channel, that stuff is hilariously outdated. It takes forever for tiny file sizes to download. It really would be in everybody's best interest to, just somehow find a way to transfer that to a more modern architecture.
The only thing I'll say,
yeah,
I did like that the Wii Shop had Mario hitting the blocks as your load was progressing. That was a very nice touch.
Sick.
It was an excellent, it's an excellent user interface in those ways. It was enjoyable to interact with, even if some of the universe, going through and searching through your titles, is a huge pain in the butt because you just have to click page by page by page, 10 games at a time.
That perfectly sums up Nintendo right there. Like the sentiment of what we're saying, you can apply to Nintendo in so many ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is Nintendo the only person in the game that is actually animating their download screens in a clever way? It's like, did Microsoft or Sony ever even bother? I remember on the 3DS, they were just there were little ornaments that would bloop 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 drop into a little box.
Yeah, the 3DS. Yeah, you got the little guy and he's peeking out. Yeah,
you'd get a little present and you're like,
yep.
The wrapping would
wrap
go
it
away.
up. It doesn't work well, but it's cute. That's
it. That's why. That's what they're.
Well, I will say this is a point where Xbox is coming out on top.
Yep.
For sure. Game preservation just in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Backwards compatibility and yeah.
The original Xbox stuff, there's some holes with, but 360 games you can just download it.
Almost kind of to a fault, because there's some things that I expect. There's so many things available that I do kind of stop when I'm just like, oh, I can't get that. I actually had that recently because Kyle was selling the Captain America game that was on 360 and just been playing a ton of Captain America and Avengers, last year, and it's like, oh yeah, I want to check that out, and nope, go to eBay.
Maybe is it like that? I'm trying to think about how those work with Xbox, because can you buy digital 360 games on the Xbox Series X, or are they just in your library?
I know you can't buy that one.
Ninja Gaiden 2's Xbox 360.
Well, Ninja Gaiden 2 was on Game Pass. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you can buy.
I think I bought it before though. Before it was on Game Pass.
Okay. Yeah, I think you can. I think you're right.
Yeah.
But just let me buy my games, man.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I got to get into the head of someone really weighing the option, because there's no way we would ever know. It's one thing to speculate how many copies of a game has sold if we don't have those numbers. It's another thing of like, what metric are they following? When do you shut these off? When do you, if you are Sony, when do you pull the plug? You got to pull it at some time. And what number is that dipping below? You're
Jones,
like, all right, it's
I
time
think
to
that's
bail.
something that makes it harder is that it's like, it's your PSN account. All that stuff is all on your one account that you use on all these systems. Like Parasite Eve is bound to my PlayStation account, but I cannot play it on PlayStation products. Even when I can play a ton of games. And like when Microsoft, you can play a lot of their old games, it's whack.
Yeah.
But say they do pull the plug, say as of August 28th, none of this, it's gone. It's all gone. There is no replacement, Ben. How do you retaliate against Sony? Like, how does this hurt their brand?
I mean,
how does this backfire on them? And if they're just trying to save a buck and focus on their new consoles?
No, it's the simple and unfortunate answer is there is no retaliation, right? Like I just think it sucks. I just wish there were a better alternative. Are there still many things I love about my PS5 and Sony in general? Absolutely. Like, it's just an unfortunate thing that I wish they were handling better. But, from a purely business standpoint, of course it may not make sense for them, but just me as an individual consumer, these are things that I would appreciate.
Because I wonder if Microsoft is making more games available on the Xbox Series X and S, then people are buying them. But at the same time, I wonder if that also contributes just like a general affection towards Microsoft as a brand. That like, oh, thanks for doing this. That like, it didn't take long. We all generally agreed that like, yes, they're doing a better job than Sony. And again, I just wonder, not that everything has to do with money, but I wonder how that translates to dollars. If you're Microsoft.
That has actually been true for me, Brandon. I haven't like plotted it out. I don't know the exact numbers, but I feel like I've spent a lot more time since I've owned them on my Xbox Series X than my PS5, just because I have such a wide variety of things to play. And like, I'll get on there and something will catch my eye, and like, I'm dealing with 3 generations of stuff. And so I think the way that they're presenting it, Game Pass, backwards compatibility, all of that stuff is contributing to me just ultimately spending more time on my Xbox Series X. Right now, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'd spend more time on my PS5 if I could play my PS1 games on there. Even, like, it's cool there's, like, PS2 classics and you play PS4 games, but it'd be sweet if we get PS3 on there. It's like, I don't want to use PS Now. My internet's not good enough for that, so I'm never going to use
Nobody's is, dude. They don't. Yeah. I just played Arkham for min-max for the deep dive, and I was on PS Now, and I was like, oh, let's try that. Like 30 minutes in, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't play this game with these just immaculate, DC universe details, and like I can't read that newspaper. It's so fuzzy and blah. Yeah, it's just that the last of last resorts is checking something out on PS Now. But I was curious if this was actually going to, because lots of different people, huge media outlets have reached out to Sony. Sony hasn't said a peep about this. But 2 people weighed in on Patreon. JG says, I went ahead and downloaded a couple of DLC and PlayStation Classics onto my chunky old PS3. So I wonder if this is true or not. Sony's like, oh, hey, look at that. All these people are, buying old games or re-downloading stuff. And so it's just kind of this strange resurgence in a bad way of people, re-accessing their accounts. You just said, I wonder what that game is. To Brad, it's Parasite Eve. I wonder what other people are like, oh no.
Well, now I gotta make sure I got every Resident Evil.
Right, yeah, that's the thing is like I need to check like, okay, what do I have? What do I not have? What do I want? Yeah.
Right. Well, and just the... I'm not even sure like what that process is going to be like of trying to transfer things to an external hard drive or, your PC and cloud storage and all that. It's just, it's not as small, obviously, as the Wii storage space, but the games are so much larger that, 60 gig PS3 is nothing. So it's just going to take forever because you're download a few games and like, all right, PS3 is full, transfer them, and download a couple more.
Well, just using the PlayStation Store and downloading things on PS3 is kind of a pain anyway.
Right.
It's definitely something they improved dramatically with PS4 and PS5.
Swinbog72 on Patreon says, given the recent reports regarding closures of digital stores by Sony and the possible implications this could have regarding customers' ability to access content they have paid for, do you worry about the seemingly inevitable all-digital future, of course, always, and the effect it could have on the ability to play classic games once a manufacturer decides to stop supporting the platform they run on? Just one of those things that is a bummer. And that's the end of it.
It strikes fear in my heart, man. Like when they're like, oh, Super Mario 3D All-Stars or whatever.
Right.
For a limited time. And I was like, oh my god, I have to get it before
That's
it's
the other
gone.
thing, too. It's just a meme now that, like, Mario's going to die at the end of the month because they're just
Yeah.
like, they're like, it's a special event and we're wrapping it up. We're just like, oh no, your days are numbered, Mario.
It goes
Stop
back to
celebrating.
my
Stop celebrating.
impression of you were like, hey, what's the retaliation for this? And it's like, well, there's nothing. It just sucks. Like the old digital future is inevitable. We have actually moved toward it very, very, very quickly. It will come, and you will just, in a way, you kind of have to accept it. I think on some level.
Yeah, I mean, look at PC games.
Right.
Like,
right.
Exactly.
It's like all digital.
Yes.
Well, and like I know you have more, Brad, but on the Switch I have like 4 games that are physical, and it's funny because I needed to play Mario Odyssey for something, and I went to the shelf and looked into the case and like, oh crap, the card's not in the case. Where is it? And I forgot, like, oh yes, I have a carrying case that I haven't used in a year that has my games in it. But it's like I didn't even know where I'd put the thing because it's been so long.
It's funny seeing Hades go physical, and like you could see at the dev they were like, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this little thing. Like it's like a relic or a poster or like a figurine
it's
or
cool,
something.
man.
They're
Holding
like,
it in your
a
hand.
physical copy of the game that people have been playing and has already won awards. Look at that. Yeah. JG on Patreon wonders, do I have to keep worrying about the internal batteries of my cartridges dying? Are there any internal batteries of any cartridge in any console that are still alive?
know.
Is that even possible?
I don't think so.
Not a current console. No, I mean, yeah, Switch is basically flashcards.
Like I still have my SNES cartridges, but they are plastic with a sticker on it that I have for fun. It's just it's a box that I just haven't thrown away.
A lot
yet,
of those
but it's
batteries still work,
I wonder.
and if you know what you're doing, it's really like the easiest thing to replace.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Watch a YouTube video.
Well,
learn.
I mean, you can take it to somebody that does. you know.
Do it
Like you.
yourself, Jones.
Yeah.
Get Damiani. And now, a word from our sponsors. Ladies and gents, we are 5 years old. And we were older than that, the human beings, but Easy Allies, 5 years old. And this week, Bloodworth has been extremely busy. He has been updating our progress ticker because we are fundraising on our streams, and he's been doing lots of administrative work trying to make all of the gears turn. And every last click that he has done to support Easy Allies this week has been done on the Logitech G Pro X Super Light wireless gaming mouse that he can just show you right now. He can do that. He can float that mouse anywhere he wants because it is wireless and it is super light. He can balance that on anything. Milo can lift that mouse.
I actually I charged it for the first time this week. It's like, oh yeah, this thing has to be charged, but it's been so long that I didn't even think about it since it's the first time it's charged since I picked it up.
That is an excellent, honest, and effective sell, Bloodworth. Thank you for that. The Logitech G Pro X Super Light Gaming Mouse is designed with the world's leading pros to engineer the world's best competitive gaming mouse. With a hyper-minimal redesign, the Pro X Super Light is their lightest and fastest Pro mouse ever, weighing in at under 63 grams, almost 25% lighter than standard Pro wireless mouses. Logitech G exclusive Hero 25K sensors provide unrivaled precision, speed, and consistency. The Pro X Super Light delivers extreme accuracy and ultra-fine control for complete confidence, especially during the intense split-second moments of tournament play. And that's the thing, if you buy mice online, you don't know. You can't weigh them, You imagine you just like being in a Best Buy, like, maybe. Speaking of cartridges, do you ever do that? Like, I remember Final Fantasy VI, I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, you can feel it.
Resident Evil 2 on N64.
Yeah.
Cartridge, yeah.
That's a cartridge. Powered by Lightspeed, Pro X Super Light is their fastest and most reliable Pro mouse yet, and is available in black and white. But of course, cool sporting that black model. For a limited time, Logitech G is offering their listeners express shipping at logitechg.com. Use code EasyAllies free ship 328 for express shipping today. That's Easy Allies free ship 328. Express shipping for all Logitech G products with promo code EasyAllies free ship 328, all one word. But hurry now, since the promo code expires in 3 days. Go check that out. Any Logitech G product, you can get free shipping. What is HelloFresh? HelloFresh, you get free pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. HelloFresh lets you skip those trips to the grocery store and makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. I grabbed a couple of these suckers. I made them for my family, and I felt super proud. I even had the in-laws in town when I did it. I impressed everybody. But the plot thickens. Amanda stepped in and was like, you know what? We're going to keep doing this because I don't want to think about what we're cooking anymore. And Amanda's absolutely fallen in love with this. I got to tell you something that is fun to see is we'll get the package and then you get all the cards. We'll put them up on the counter to see what we're going to be eating that week. And then Amanda puts it in the calendar. And so I'll look ahead and be like, what, are we recording anything tomorrow for Easy Allies? Oh, look at that. We're having tacos. Cool. It's nice to anticipate the meal that's coming up 2 or 3 days from now. All thanks to HelloFresh. HelloFresh cuts out stressful meal planning and grocery store trips so you can enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in about 30 minutes or less. HelloFresh offers 10 to 20-minute meals, low prep recipes, and quick breakfasts and lunches perfect for your busy schedule. Over 4 out of 5 HelloFresh customers say HelloFresh helps them lead a healthier lifestyle with delicious low-calorie, carb-smart, and vegetarian options available each week. HelloFresh offers the flexibility you need with customizable orders every week. You can easily change your delivery days or food preferences and skip a week whenever you need. Go to HelloFresh.com/12allies and use code 12allies for 12 free meals, including free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/12allies and use the code 12allies for 12 free meals, including free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And if you are a patron of Easy Allies, thank you. Amazon Games opened a new studio. I don't know how you feel about that. Let me just stop there. I don't know how you feel. Amazon is going to start working on a new game. Fingers crossed. This studio is in Montreal. They previously just had studios in Seattle, Orange County, and San Diego. So this is not only, they don't even have studios on the East Coast. This is their first studio outside of the U.S. And the staff includes almost 100% people from Rainbow Six Siege. The development director for technology is Luc Bouchard, which he was the development director of technology at Ubisoft. He's going to be the head of production at Amazon Games Montreal. The creative director, Xavier Marquis, will again be creative director. The brand and esports director, Alexander Remy, is going to be the head of production. And the creative director, Romain Remock, is going to be the content director. So I'm in a sticky position right now because I don't necessarily trust Amazon Games. I'm sure there's a lot of very talented, wonderful people that are working there, but I'm a little nervous about them launching anything. Even New World, Brad, I'm a little curious about when that actually launches and when it actually, finally gets to its inevitable release date, how that is going to go. But at the same time, Rainbow Six Siege is kicking ass on all fronts. So this is an interesting mix of some people who have not been that capable and some people who are very capable. How do we, what is our anticipation of the studio and their new IP?
I don't know. I just get this bad feeling because that seems to be the trend with a lot of these newer studios coming up. I'm thinking about Amy Hennig and all that stuff. We're like, oh, promising people, new studio. It's just like, it's done. So I'm hoping something comes out and it's great from them, but I'm nervous.
Yeah, I think it's hard to be optimistic just right now because we've gotten a string of stories, not the least of which is that Amazon Games isn't maybe not being run very well based on that report that came out recently. But also just like Stadia, just laying off, not doing any internal studios. And Jade Raymond was a part of that. It was like that was something they got out there and promoted. And so it's hard, I think, to be excited just that a big company is hiring people that have been successful in the past. but we'll have to see. We'll have to see the product. We'll have to see what they're working on. If it comes to fruition, which is unfortunate to say.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm maybe a little bit more optimistic because, with some of that, the reporting's come out that, it's very clear that Amazon does not know how to run a gaming division. But it seems in some of that they've learned some hard lessons. It feels like they've moved away from using Lumberyard and they're kind of moving past that. The other kind of, good thing, if you could say, is that this team, as you mentioned, Brandon, it's very far away from the rest of Amazon. So they don't have to have some guy walking by their offices and say, "Oh yeah, I don't like that. I don't think." But this is how things work. We have to do this. And like, no, scrap that.
Right.
He has to, do a little bit more work to interfere. Or whoever that might be.
That's the lesson I really want them to learn. That's the thing. On one hand, it's like, they've done such a remarkable job with Siege. It's in such good shape right now. But at the same time, all it takes, is just somebody to come in and be like, nope, you're not, these amazing ideas that you've had, these risks that you want to take, ways that you want to push, I'm assuming the shooter genre, we'll see, in a new direction. We still have our dumb ideas that we're going to adhere to and be stuck on. Are these 4 people that we're going to be reading blogs from in 2 years? We're like, I'm out. I can't. This is too much.
Right.
I just don't know. And it might be impossible to speculate at this point. But
the thing is like they've already generated this bad reputation, like announcing something and then saying it's coming from Amazon Games. It's like you could totally see somebody going like, oh, didn't they release a game and then immediately unrelease it? Like that was a crazy thing, and so those are probably stories that are sticking, at least in some people's minds.
But I have to wonder because creative director Xavier Marquis says, building upon 8 years of experience with Siege, we're excited to start with a blank page and the creative freedom to create a completely unique experience in the multiplayer space, which from a developer standpoint, I completely understand. It's like, hey, it's not my money. If you're going to pay us to do this weird thing, I mean, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, then we got a chance.
Wasn't
to
that one of the
something.
problems with Amazon where people, they essentially, they felt safe. So, they could just do whatever, but they didn't really have a good incentive to, make it something that would actually be worthwhile. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was something in those reports to where it just felt like they would, they weren't necessarily getting the proper push in a lot of ways. But it's hard for me to put it in a way that sounds right.
Well,
that sounds accurate.
Going into the production at the turn of the century, I remember that was one thing that kind of threw me because I worked for an animation company and we had one of the guys who produced Ice Age, which is like this huge animated movie at the time, and he came in to help us do commercials, and I was like, why the heck is this guy who's making these features, why is he coming in to help with commercials? What's going on? And it's like, because it's a blank slate, because he gets to come in and now all of a sudden he's the big fish in the room. Now everybody's looking up to him. And so ever since then, completely understand when somebody's like, I don't care how big this is or how much it sells. It's just fun to do a new project. It's fun to start over. But Xavier Marquis, I don't know about this next sentence. From our first discussion, we felt a true connection with the people at Amazon Games, their approach to gaming, and the sheer amount of knowledge, expertise, and technology available there. I think knowledge and technology has been the two Achilles heels.
Right.
Both of their heels are exposed over at Amazon. So I don't know. It's quite humbling, and we couldn't be more excited to start a studio with them. I think Amazon at this point should be humbled by the staff of Rainbow Six Siege. That's my take.
Yeah.
But not a lot to say. They haven't announced what it is. We don't even know what genre. I hope it works out for that team. We shall see.
Yeah, does it say how many people were together from Rainbow Six Siege, or is it just those 4 guys?
Those 4 primarily just in a management position, but
sure.
It sounds like the majority of the team. But I don't necessarily.
Because I think that's something that's helpful too. It's not just a bunch of random people trying to work together. It's these guys, they know what they're doing, but they also know what they're doing with each other, and so they kind of have, roles that they're comfortable in.
got to imagine it's going to be a game that lasts for a while. Maybe not necessarily a live service game, but I think like one of the successes of Siege and one of the things that they prove that they're so good at is just constantly, supporting a very active, talented community. You got to be good at Siege. You can't fake that game. Like, you got to know what you're doing. And just, how many operators are in that now? Like dozens and dozens and dozens. They're just constantly adding new content. So that would seem to be their biggest strength. And so that's what I would expect out of that IP when we get to see it. But hopefully it happens. They have started and stopped several times, so shout out to them. Best of luck. Disco Elysium was banned in Australia, and games being banned in Australia is sadly not that headline worthy. We've actually had people write in for Love and Respect and being like, can you guess why this game was banned in Australia? Can you guess if this game or not was banned in Australia, or the hoops that they had to jump through? Some games, reapplied. It is specifically the Australian Classification Board that has to classify something before it is available to be sold. They refused to classify this, and it is specifically the Final Cut version of Disco Elysium that is coming out. Was going to come out on March 30th.
Was it out already, the original version?
I believe so. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're changing that much about Final Cut, or maybe Disco Elysium had not come out in Australia. But the Final Cut version was going to be available on March 30th on the PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Switch. It was not on Switch yet. So maybe it was not available in Australia.
Do they have different standards for PC games, maybe?
Maybe.
They have different standards for sure. Just in general over there in Australia. And the reason why this is getting a fair bit of press is not only because Disco Elysium is a popular game, but Disco Elysium has, won a lot of awards. It's so strange that they're coming in and being like, yeah, that thing that won over a dozen awards, 3 BAFTAs for narrative, music, and debut, 2 GDC awards for narrative and debut. We gave it best narrative and best character in 2019. And Australia's like, nah, that scummy game, get out of here. They declassify games that, quote, depict, express, or otherwise deal with matters of sex, drug misuse, or addiction, crime, cruelty, violence, or revolting or abhorrent phenomena in such a way that they offend against the, here we go, standards of morality, decency, and propriety generally accepted by reasonable adults, to the extent that they should not be classified.
That's just about everything interesting in fiction.
I was just going to say.
That's a lot of stuff.
Please give me some unreasonable adult entertainment, please. How's that game, Ben? It's unreasonable.
Yeah.
Go on. And so because of that, a lot of people outside of the country, a lot of people in Australia right now are like, this may potentially be the straw that breaks the camel's back of them. Just like, you got to stop this. This is just ridiculous. And it is kind of getting out of hand. And I'm sure all of us agree on that. So I don't know if there's anything that we can do as Americans to maybe like kind of poke and prod them to make the right decision. But it seems potentially that just the fact that you take drugs in Disco Elysium, that's it. Nope. That person is taking a drug. Get out of here. We don't want the reasonable Australians to play that game. How silly is this? How offended are you, panelists?
Well, it does sound like there's some push for these things to be reviewed and revised, and there's also some other law related to this that they're like, hey, wait, you can't implement that until we go through this revision process. So it's there's a whole ball of yarn unraveling over there with all of this, and people talking about how this the problem of video games being treated differently than books and film are. The same standards don't apply, and that's even what's crazy to me is this is even with an 18 plus rating, which the problem with Australia before was that their ratings they stopped at like 15 or 16 or something like that, and so anything that was deemed unsuitable for children would be banned at that point. And then they made this 18 rating, and then they're still like, oh no, Disco Elysium, no.
It's just crazy to me that we're having this conversation in 2021.
Yeah.
This reminds me of, what was it, Jack something? What was his name? What was the guy that just was
Oh
gunning
yeah,
for games?
yeah.
Jack
Oh, I
Thompson?
remember
Jack
that.
Yeah.
This is
That's
Jack
it.
Thompson caliber, and that was like 15 years ago. That guy
Yeah.
was gunning
Like-
for our games.
When Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, are we really going to have like articles that are like, this is so like, how many times are we going to do this saga dance?
I remember in, I think it was GTA 3. I remember they were like, you can solicit a prostitute, drive over her, and get back your money after you have sex in an automobile. And I had probably put in 500 hours into GTA 3, and I was like, you can do what? Like, I was totally unaware. I was like, that's very clever. Thank you, Channel 7 News. I wouldn't have thought to do that if you hadn't explicitly explained how to be a horrible person in this game. Did you hear about that? Is people at Channel 7 running over prostitutes in GTA 3? But yeah, this seems completely archaic. The chief executive of the Interactive Games and Entertainment Association, Ron Curry, agrees. He told Guardian Australia, which is really leading the story on this. The sad reality is that the national classification system applies to a stricter set of rules for video games than it does for pretty much every other kind of content. Yeah, it's not like somebody will take a drug in a movie in Australia and they're like, wait a minute, reflecting the early 1990s era of which those rules were written, when video games were associated with a moral panic and certainly not treated as the mainstream medium and artistic discipline that they are. So yeah, I hope things change. Like, yes, it's a fun love and respect segment, but I mean, my goodness, that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah.
And obviously there's, games that aren't coming out in China. I'm trying to think if there's any examples in the last couple decades of like games that like we were not able to play in the United States. I think it's something that we take for granted. Certainly there is a moral panic happening in some areas in the US, but yeah. Sucks. Sorry, Australia. It's a good game. Also this week, Final Fantasy XI-R, a mobile version of the MMO, has been canceled. Man.
I was curious about this game. I was kind of hoping to be fun. I
Well,
wanna play
because
it.
you're going to say you were curious if it's going to be canceled or not.
No.
Yeah, it's been in development for a while, for a couple of years.
I know.
This was something that I would be reminded of, Brad, and then forget about 5 seconds later. But I'm sad. I'm bummed that this checked out.
You know,
It
it's like,
just
think
didn't
about
meet-
it, man. If we were at the studio, we could just be like, you want to play real quick?
Yeah.
Want to party up?
Riding chocobos. Like,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy XI was very important to me.
Yeah.
Very powerful memories. Shout out to Sharky, my guild leader. Thanks for power leveling me. The new Switch will reportedly feature a new chip from NVIDIA for 4K upscaling.
Yay.
Which is reported. Obviously, this is not something Nintendo's not confirming any of this, but it seems people seem pretty confident in that. Thousands of remote play together Steam games now don't require a Steam account for player 2, 3, 4 for other people that are playing. Potentially, you don't even have to
cool.
be on Steam to play with other people.
That's cool. I have no idea how that's supposed to work.
To work.
I know.
If you don't have an account, how do you connect to it?
We have not tested it, but yeah.
Do they send you a link?
An email or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
Psyonix announced a 2D mobile version of Rocket League called Sideswipe.
Okay.
I'm less curious about that than I would be for Final Fantasy XI-R, but we will see. Curious how that does. Genshin Impact made $1 billion on mobile alone since it launched on September 28th, 6 months ago. Not only mobile, it's not even counting China.
Wow.
Yeah.
The power of waifus, man, is
I know.
unbelievable.
Power of anime.
September 28th, 6 months ago, that baby launched. $1 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
6 more months. Let's do this. So 9 times 6. So that's roughly 5 more years, and then they can buy Discord. Starbreeze, the developers behind Payday, got a 50 million euro deal with Koch Media. Payday is another franchise that I forget is a thing, but there's a lot
Right.
of people checking that out. So yeah, they are free to go make some more games there. Gotham Knights has been delayed to 2022.
Bummer.
Bummer. Makes me wonder if Suicide Squad is maybe happening that year, because that was something
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, well, at least we're getting to Gotham Knights this year, and then we'll wait to play that other game. Well, as of right now, we're getting both of those games next year. There will be an open beta for Resident Evil Reverse on April 8th. Wouldn't have known that had not been for Michael Huber. Thanks, Huber. Niantic and Nintendo are partnering to create more mobile apps. Apparently, we're going to get a Pikmin game that is not an AR game like you're thinking. It's not Pikmin Go. It's maybe a walking game with Pikmin.
Yeah, I think it's still AR. I think all this stuff is AR.
Not AR that you're thinking. You think Niantic AR, and you're like, okay, yeah, Pikmin. That makes sense. You're going out and catching.
Yeah, more Pikmin sounds good to me.
Sure.
I wish this was Pikmin 4, but we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the game design is actually like, but yeah, it's supposed to be making walking fun and involve Pikmin, and I'm pretty sure it involves AR too. So it's how that stuff all works together. I don't know.
It just makes me think about Animal Crossing, Ben. When we got the Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, I was like, this is fine, but not what I want.
Right.
It wasn't long after.
Yeah,
Our
maybe
dreams finally came
planting-
true.
Maybe.
Planting the Pikmin. I was gonna say planting the seeds, but planting the Pikmin.
Surprised though about like what Niantic and Nintendo like are making a mint off money. We're talking about mobile money, man. It's just like why now? I wonder why, if they didn't have an idea, or it would seem like Niantic and Nintendo were partnering to create more mobile apps. Should have been something I was reading off like 2 years ago. Xbox Live is now called Xbox Network. That's
a
about
downgrade.
that. That's it. Yeah,
That's
dude.
a downgrade.
And the N in network is lowercase, which.
End of an era, man.
Apparently, this is because they don't want to confuse Xbox Live with Xbox Live Gold. Like, so if you're trying to get Xbox Live, that's a thing you got to pay for. But if you want the Xbox Network, that's just kind of all the Xbox things connected. That's just the network.
Oh, I could see that why they'd have to change it then.
But the lowercase N.
Maybe I'm just so used to it, but there's
Drives me
just
up a
something
wall.
about Xbox Live that I.
Yeah, it's classic.
Right.
It's,
Yeah. That's
it's all it's ever been called.
Yeah.
So
right.
that's going to be a bitter pill to swallow.
Nobody's gonna change. They're still gonna call it Xbox Live.
Sure.
Sure.
Shadow. If anything, it's going to confuse people more. That's how that works. Shadow Man Remastered will be released on April 15th. Hitman 3 is getting some DLC called Seven Deadly Sins.
Yeah.
With Agent 47 wearing a badass suit. the art that they released.
They showed the trailer for Greed, and each one of those is going to cost $5, or you can get the whole pack for $30.
Oh, cool. The next gen version of Pinball FX will launch on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and Epic this year. Blood, you posted that one. Are you hyped?
That's for Dawn, probably.
That's for Don.
FX?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's for
okay.
Donnie.
Yeah.
There you go.
They'll send those codes all the time, and like I won't even ask. I just forward it to Don.
One of our most dedicated listeners, Mr. Don Casanova. Ikumi Nakamura, former creative director of Ghostwire Tokyo, is creating her own studio.
Also, one of the most likable people on Earth.
One of the jolliest. It felt so bad because she came out and was like, okay, Ghostwire looks great, but who is this? And then she left. And apparently she left over health concerns. She released a very interesting video where she's walking around old decrepit buildings talking about her new IP, which didn't really get into specific details, compared herself to Deadpool. I guess she wants to make a game with like naughty jokes in it. And, like, you do whatever you want to do, but that sounds
Not
fascinating.
naughty. She said dark humor.
Dark humor, that's what it was.
Yeah. But
She used to work with Suda 51, dude.
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting. It's an interesting story to see how it's like, gone about, because, yeah, she left the studio and she was just touring the world, going to everybody's different studios. Showed up at Sony Santa Monica and was just hanging out with people, and then, like, surprise, she had a kid. And so it was like easy to feel like, oh, like if she knew she was gonna have a kid, then like, yeah, you don't want to be directing a game right now. Like, that's ridiculous. But yeah, so now to hear that, like, yeah, she just felt like, the work-life balance was just off in that position, and try to rethink, create a smaller team and, give them more authority and not micromanage as much. And so, and she's talking about, like trying to, have a lot of people from, different parts of the world in the company. So I think it'll be really, really interesting to see what comes out of this.
Kind of similar sentiment from Jade Raymond last week that we read off starting her new studio. So good vibes. People being like, I'm going to go do my own thing. It's better for my mental health. Sony is developing a Ghost of Tsushima movie from John Wick director Chad Stahelski. Which I'm scared to research the lore of Ghost of Tsushima and find out that none of this happened, really. They're just like, I know it's a cool story, but...
The island was invaded.
It was. No, these things did happen, but, it just... I fell in love with all of those characters, and...
sure.
It would break my heart if literally, like, no, this was... like, we invented all of these plot lines. But that's a story that I like and a director that is capable. And so, yeah, I'm curious about that
Well,
coming together.
me and Blood were talking about this earlier. That game's already like a tribute to Japanese films like that.
So
Kurosawa and stuff like that, so it makes total sense to do a movie.
yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see what elements. Just a lot of good storylines, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
That was a
Will there
We'll
be
have
a black and white
filter.
version?
yeah,
Yeah.
Justice League style. The Playdate handheld, which is launching later this year, still fingers crossed, will stream to your computer, which is very smart. That is good news, but something that I'm like, yes, do that. That's a thing you should do. That would be a bummer if we all, were checking that out and no one was streaming it, or like there's no footage of it outside of the official stuff from the company. And good news out of Xbox, the Xbox Party Chat will no longer require Xbox Live Gold, not to be confused with the
that's
Xbox
nice.
Network. But apparently, on your new Xbox headset, you can use Xbox Party Chat without paying for it. It is now time for love and respect.
Love and
respect.
respect.
Yeah. Well, Ben, you're pumped. This one's for you, baby. Big Boss 313 says, more of a
Boom.
request, but I'm hoping you revisit the topic of Sony buying Evo. Just get Ben's opinion on it. It almost seems like every time there's FGC news, Ben is nowhere around to give his thoughts. Nothing against anyone else in the panel, but sometimes I'd rather hear the opinion of someone that follows the scene. That being said, it was a great discussion last week, even though none of you follow. Thank you, Big Boss. That was kind. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I was actually really bummed. I actually even thought like, oh, hey, is there any way I can like chip in to give my opinion on it? Because it was really fascinating to me, and Evo means a lot to me. I always really enjoy watching it, and when I went in 2019, it was like one of the best experiences. I had such a blast, and so I'm very invested in Evo specifically, but I'm nervous for a lot of reasons. Of course, the number one thing is everybody's bringing up Smash, and I'm not sure what you guys said on the podcast. I didn't listen to it, but it's not even so much that I am worried about Evo not letting Smash be a part of it. They said that they were open to, other companies and other games and that sort of thing. It's just Nintendo, specifically when it comes to esports, is notoriously difficult to work with. And I would be more worried about Nintendo not letting Smash
Easy
in
out
than
for
Evo.
them.
Yeah, it's exactly. Which is a disappointment. A lot of people watch Smash at Evo. A lot of people sign up for Smash at Evo, so that is incredibly disappointing. And I think the other thing that is disappointing is when you have a move like this, it's going to influence how the event is run in one way or another. I mean, like, you're not Sony and you don't try to use this platform to boost your product, right? Like that, there on some level that is going to happen, and I just am curious how it's going to happen. I think it's a little naive to say that nothing is going to change, or that it's going to be exactly like we remember Evo being. And so I am curious to see what is going to happen, especially as we get brand new, like not on PS4, Xbox One fighting games, exclusive to next gen fighting games, how that happens and how Sony runs it. I think the other thing that I worry about, and part of what makes Evo so much fun, and this is not just a Sony thing, but has happened with fighting games before, is just corporate influence does not mix well with the FGC. It just doesn't. The FGC is part of why I like the FGC and why I'm so continually drawn to it is people are allowed to be their exuberant self. They're allowed to have fun with each other. They're allowed to playfully talk trash to each other. Like hype is allowed to exist. And I think that's what makes the FGC so fascinating. And that sort of dynamic, that playfulness, that spirit, if you will, I think is so important, and definitely has been, impacted in a bunch of ways. But I don't want it to be more watered down. I want people that actually are invested in these communities representing these communities.
Sure. Yeah, when you put it that way, Ben, I have to wonder that obviously, Sony is thinking how much Evo can help them and not necessarily how much they can help, Evo.
Right. Yeah, and
So
I
that
don't.
yeah, that's a little nerve wracking.
I don't want to like be doom and gloom about it or berate Sony out of hand. Like nothing has happened yet. What I'm expressing is purely skepticism, and I hope that none of that happens, and it's actually a great change, and that it makes Evo even better. But I feel like the skepticism is coming from a reasonable place.
Yeah. I mean, the wheels are really turning, I imagine, already, because that's, a couple months away. So I wonder how much change they can affect.
Yeah, the wheel of fate is turning.
It is.
Very nice. But Brandon, the other thing that's a bummer, and I don't know if you guys touched on it, is that Evo is only going to be online, and after a year not having Evo, I just wish it was in person. Like it's just not the same. You can't. You don't get the same things that you do when everybody's in a big arena, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be tough to draw that line. Like, was this weird because it was digital? Was it weird because it was Sony?
Right.
Was it weird?
Right.
Yeah, it'll be weird regardless. From Ziganak. Greetings, panel. Based on the Allies' combined love for tabletop and video games, here's a fun game for you I like to call Board or Bust. Below, I've listed 10 tabletop games based on iconic video game franchises. You have to tell me if the tabletop games are real, officially licensed things you can buy, board, or if they're completely fake, bust. The game descriptions have been taken from their respective Amazon pages. Quick note, for the sake of the game, we're not counting things like Mario, Monopoly, or Fortnite Jenga, which are both real, by the way. Thanks for playing, Allies. Maybe some of these games grabbed your attention like they did mine. As always, love and respect. Let's start off with an easy one. Minecraft. Board or bust?
That's an easy one.
Apparently.
I guess.
I'm
Board?
going to say
so
board.
Huge.
If it's an easy one, I'm going to say board.
Board! In Minecraft, builders and biomes explore the overworld, face dangerous mobs, and mine resources to build fantastic structures. Each turn, players take 2 of 5 possible actions: explore the overworld, mine resources from a block of resource cubes, build structures, collect weapons, or fight mobs like endermen and creepers.
I realize that this is probably an ignorant statement, but based on your description, why not just play Minecraft? I don't. It's like the Minecraft Legos. I don't know that I understand.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm going to discover this eventually, but I wonder if, like, you're a parent, everything has to be Minecraft. It doesn't matter. Like, the shirt has to be Minecraft.
I think that's exactly what it is.
The bed sheets have to be Minecraft. You're like, can we just play something as a family and just like, we'll play this Minecraft board game?
Right. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is.
Death Stranding.
Oh.
Board or bust?
I'm going to go bust.
I'm going to go bust as well.
Bust.
Tis a bust. That'd be fun though. Slow, probably. It's like you're
slow.
you're all just kind of doing your own thing. Should we connect at some point, or what are we doing? I don't know.
The Death Stranding...
Frank's in the kitchen. We don't even know if he's playing the same game.
The Death Stranding board game is basically just like you pretending that chores are a game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like we're moving, hey, we're moving our neighbors to a new house. It's this is the Death Stranding board game that we're playing.
Right.
Also, like, you move like your little piece across the board and a song starts playing. You're like, what the hell? What?
This is so emotional.
It doesn't even have batteries. How's that work? Mega Man.
Board.
Board! In Mega Man, the board game, players will assume the role of the Blue Bomber, fighting against iconic robot masters, gaining powers, and eventually facing off against Dr. Wily himself. But be careful, as other players will do everything they can to slow down your progress by taking control of Dr. Wily's minions. So one person's playing Mega Man? That's kind of cool.
That sounds really cool. I should look into this. Yeah.
I like how both of the descriptions so far had an exclamation point in it. I'm hoping they all do at some point. This board game! Kingdom Hearts.
Board.
Bust.
Board? Yeah.
Oh.
And
It's
Talisman.
such a big IP.
In Talisman Kingdom Hearts Edition, 2 to 6 players are transported.
Wait, I thought we weren't
yeah,
getting
we weren't
these.
doing that, were we?
Oh,
Yeah.
then
Well,
That's a foul.
Scuffed, yeah.
But is that on us?
I guess when you say Mario Monopoly, you say Monopoly or Jenga. Have you heard of Talisman before? I haven't heard of Talisman.
I have not. Ian
I've
probably
not,
has.
but if Talisman exists and this is a Kingdom Hearts version of Talisman,
True.
that's the same rule.
I imagine Talisman shopping their IP around is not the same as Monopoly and Jenga. Jenga is probably like, yeah, sure.
Well, tell me
I'll sell
about
it
the
to anybody.
game.
I will. Blood stops interrupting me. 2 to 6 players are transported to the Destiny Islands, which have been attacked by the Heartless. Players must venture through the realm between the realm of light and the end of the world, acquiring the needed strength and magic strength capital S, magic capital M, to seal the door to darkness and keep Heartless from consuming the other worlds. Also included are 11 custom sculpted figures based on main characters from the series, which people bought this game just for that. People literally bought the game, opened it up, took the figures out. Whoosh.
Yeah.
All right, superfan Brad, what about Chrono Trigger?
No, bust.
Bust, yeah.
Bust, unless it's in Japan somewhere.
Yeah.
Bust. Nobody's making
Yeah.
that. Sadly, nobody's making that Chrono Trigger board game. Cuphead.
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's a good one.
I'm gonna say bored.
I'm going to say bust.
I want it to be a board, but I think bust for now.
It's a bust. You'd think, though. It was a good...
Yeah,
good
that's
red
a really
herring,
good one.
you would think. Yeah. Portal.
Bored.
Board.
Portal, the uncooperative cake acquisition game, includes constantly shifting area control and card play. Players move and portal their test subjects to various chambers in the lab. At the end of each player's turn, one of the chambers on the lab, at the end of the lab, gives way, plunge as more Portal 2-ish, plunging all test subjects on it into oblivion. But should your test subjects have numbered greater than all others in the falling chamber, they earn you some wonderful parting gifts, which can include cake. I love that Portal humor, just even in the Amazon description. Crash Bandicoot.
Ooh,
Board.
Crash.
Bust.
Bandicoot.
Bust.
Board.
Bust.
Damn.
Street Fighter.
Bored.
Board.
Board.
In the Capcom Street Fighter deck building game, you take on the role of Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Balrog, M. Bison, or one of the other well-known characters from the fan-favorite video games as you travel to exotic locales seeking new challenges! ! While you begin armed with only basic combat maneuvers, you will add new, more powerful cards to your deck as you go, with the goal of defeating as many stage bosses as you can. And finally, Doom.
Bored.
Board.
Bust.
Board. The
Cool.
asymmetrical gameplay of Doom the board game pits one invader player and their arsenal against 1 to 4 elite marines, each equipped
Nice.
with a customizable deck of intimidating weapons and hardy armor. Every mission presents a specialized map, unique rules, various items for retrieval, and objectives for both invaders and marines. Very sad that no exclamation point was in that description.
That's like the opposite of what you play Doom because it's one guy.
I was going to say, I was surprised it wasn't
murdering all
one
these- yeah.
Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping when they said the other 4 players, I thought they were going to be like cacodemons or something, yeah.
Thank you, Ziganak. That was fun. Spheric Formula. Let's talk anime games.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
Prepared? Ready? Okay. Personally, I'm fed up of shonen series being translated into almost exclusively arena battler video games. Looking at you, Dragon Ball, Naruto, and Jump Force.
Sure.
Or if we're lucky, we might get a Muso title or perhaps a visual novel. I understand the logic of putting these action-filled series into competitive fighting games, and while I'd give my left leg for an Arc System Works Bleach title, I do feel that there is an overabundance of series being railroaded into this genre, and wondered if any of the allies felt similarly. Are there any genre changes or anime manga you guys think might be cool and would like to see? A few ideas of mine are Haikyuu volleyball game, a puzzle detective thriller set in the Death Note universe, a Berserk survival horror, or Pray to the Heavens, we get a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure action-adventure game in a similar vein as Uncharted or Tomb Raider. Thanks, allies. Keep watching anime, and love and respect.
I've said this before, but it's also JoJo's where it's basically Yakuza JoJo, where it's the same style and openness, and combat encounters there'd be very obvious similarities, but I've always thought that would be cool. It's a broad question, so it might take a little bit to think about. Another one that comes to mind is Cowboy Bebop, as a you are a bounty hunter traveling across space, going to different locations, trying to take on these bounties. I mean, there's so many cool things that you could do there.
Could you even take like an FTL approach to Cowboy Bebop? Obviously simulation is not like the ultimate dream, but like you would want to control all of those characters. But I don't know, it kind of might be fun to just like step back, see the ship, and manage everything.
Yeah, I mean, Naruto got quite a few of
those Ubisoft ones.
Yeah, the
but that was
Ubisoft
like
ones had some
mid
variety.
2000s.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with like that series in particular. It's had so many different games. It's had like GBA side scrollers and all that stuff. There's even been some RPGs, right?
Yeah, I think so on the older stuff.
Yeah. But it's easy because a lot of these series, I mean, they're easy to turn into fighting games because that's a lot of what those series are about.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's like, it makes the most sense in
it's
a
like,
lot
here's
of cases.
this character's moveset, and they're going to go up against this other character's moveset, and you're going to see what happens, Attack on Titan's pretty different.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh yeah, it is. It's very different. Even though it is an Omega first joint, it is not... In some ways, it kind of feels similar to a Musou, but it's pretty different.
I would like an addition to a JoJo fighting game where you could pause the fight and explain to your opponent what you're about to do or just did. I would love that element. Like an emote, but it takes like a minute. It'd be fun.
I was glad Dragon Ball Kakarot was like different. It wasn't just a fighting game. I know there's One Piece games that are like kind of open, but I want like a really big open world One Piece game. We actually sail to different islands and stuff like that. That's great.
One Piece Wind Waker, that would be wild. For some reason, No More Heroes also strikes me as something that could be compared to a JoJo. I mean, just like, because I would love a JoJo Yakuza.
No More Heroes
is
already an anime game,
right? But just I would love a JoJo game where like I was, what would be really fun is not just even translating one of the seasons from JoJo, but like they make their own JoJo storyline. Like there was something like a JoJo that was exclusive to this game. Deal. That would be very interesting.
You know what I just thought of? Because I thought it was so awesome that Ni no Kuni was its own world, but it had the super identifiable Ghibli style. More of that, right? Like more things that it's like, okay, we're making this to be a video game. We're not having to adapt it, but it carries qualities that you're already familiar with and are attached to. I think that in a lot of cases might be an even more successful approach.
Yeah, I think one of the difficulties with a lot of these things that, comes up is they don't treat it like a true like pillar of that franchise. It's always just feels like a slap on kind of marketing deal. It
always feels like it, well, not always, but sometimes it feels like sometimes it feels like they're just capitalizing on the name and making it the cheapest way possible.
Yeah, and so you go through like a more boring version of hearing the same plot that you already know. You've already experienced this plot several times before in different forms, and now you're just gonna have it on screen as text and like, okay, great, just let me skip to the next fight, please.
I think a Tokyo Ghoul game could be pretty cool, where you have to deal with like wanting to eat humans and resisting that and getting into fights with ghouls and that sort of thing. Could be neat.
I wonder if like a Danganronpa type of Death Note game would be fun, even if it was like randomized, where you had a group of people and like you don't know who's the one making all of this stuff happen. You have to figure that out.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. It's just a part of the appeal. I don't want to say too much. Part of the appeal of Danganronpa is figuring out how everything kind of ties together.
Right.
But I appreciate the sentiment of what you're saying for sure.
It's an attempt.
I feel like
all my anime discussions are always just attempts.
It's not. It's not a bad idea.
I want to be a part of the conversation.
I haven't played the My Hero games, but those are basically fighting games, right?
I played the whatever the first one was and was very underwhelmed. It's that kind of arena fighter where nothing just feels very good and movement is very loose, and you just wish it was a tighter 2D or 3D fighter than that kind of janky arena fighter that anime games can sometimes be.
An open world multi-character My Hero game? Ooh.
That franchise would be such a good fit for like a Persona style structure. Where it's like you have you go to class, you do these like day-to-day things, and and then you get out there and have to fight evil. And
My hero persona is Brilliant Blood. Like it fits perfectly. Yeah, that's such a good idea.
They do a fair amount of fighting at school too.
Yeah.
While they're actually in class. It is time for bets. Next week's bet: Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5, 2.8, 3, and Melody of Memory all launch on PC on March 30th at midnight that day. Keep in mind, midnight meaning when it becomes March 30th, so technically the evening of March 29th. Where will Kingdom Hearts be on Google Trends? Again, it's 1 to 100 is the scale of Google Trends. This is worldwide, and I will check the last week when I did that of the past 7 days worldwide. When I checked that before the podcast, it was at 80. I would like to know where that will be the night before all of these games launch on PC. Brad Ellis.
95.
95.
A lot of people are going to complain at how expensive they are.
There's, as long as they're talking, good or bad. Ben.
90.
Uh-oh, we all gave round numbers. What's Bloods?
84.
Ooh,
Get a little bump.
85.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Got the low side.
It's going to be 100. When are we all kidding ourselves? They're walking away with it next week.
In a weird way, I think there's probably more talking when it's announced than it will be when it actually comes out, but I could be wrong.
Every time I open the Epic Game Store, it's like, hey, Kingdom Hearts. Like every time. It's like the top story.
That's right.
Last week's bet. Fall Guys Season 4 launched on March 22nd. How many people are watching the top stream on Twitch right now? Brett Ellis bet 2,000, Michael Huber bet 300, Daniel Bloodworth bet 3,003, and I bet 151. Huber and I went low, Brad and Bloodworth went high. I got the page right here. Let's see how we do. The top stream right now of Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout has 3,800 people watching it. That is Julian, Julien, streaming Fallout there. Giving the win to Daniel Fall Guys, sorry. Giving the win to Daniel Bloodworth. How many people are watching Fallout right now? That's the question.
Fallout 1.
Fallout 1.
Bringing our scores to Jovial Penguins 8. Vociferous Beavers 5.
Nom 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 nom.
Creeping back.
Creeping
Creeping back and being loud about it.
Creeping back.
Do. Let me tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. This is a big week. We're 5 years old. This week is EZX. If you are listening to this tomorrow, you still got some more fun stuff to watch. Tomorrow being Friday. If you're listening to this on Sunday, EZX has concluded. That was this past week. I mean, if you're listening to this on Sunday, Brad's could be streaming this weekend, so you can check that out. But if you missed EZX, there are a lot of fun exclusive things to Patreon. I have a new show called Mindful Games that, I can talk about now. Episode 1 was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That was this week. If you want to see the next week's episode already, it's Ghost of Tsushima. $5 will get you this podcast early. Will get you early access to a lot of the stuff that we produce. We've also shaken up our tiers at patreon.com/easyally, so you can go there and check out the post where we announce all of the fun new things from EZX, along with everything that we did this week. It is a fun week to be a viewer, a fan, and a patron of Easy Allies. We would appreciate your support, whether we are fundraising or not. It is always a good time to go over there and at least check out what we have to offer. If not, consider supporting us, because we'd like to keep at this as long as we possibly can. Shout out to everybody that is at the shout out tier, which is our top tier. It's going to be interesting to see if we got new people potentially this month that jumped in at that shout out tier. But for this month, for the last time in March, that we're going to be shouting them out. Blood, you're going to go first. I'm going after you. Brad, you're going after me. And Ben, you are going fourth. Shout out to Caleb Togi Crawford, Edgar Senpai Black Clover, L. Fanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Stephen Thomason, and Nick.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Daniel Bloodworth, teammate, friend, coworker, colleague. You won. You get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped into your head, and you get to sign off with your trademark sign off.
For the video, I would like to promote Achieve It Yourself, Season 3, Episode 1. Went up this week on Patreon. One of our exclusive series. And it's fun to have that going back up, and it's a tricky one to pull off while we're still working from home. It seems like the next season of We Do Have a TV Yourself will be back to normal in the studio, but for now, that's the way it is. For final word, I'll just address it to Sony and be like, hey, Sony, get us some way to get our PS3 games that does not involve hours of tedious downloading. Put those on a regular PS5, PS4, some way to get a hold of them. That would be very, very helpful, very nice. Thank you very much. And we'll see you before the next Blood Moon rises.
I don't know what I'm doing.
It doesn't work well, but it's cute.
The Easy Allies would like to thank our Patreon podcast producers. We apologize in advance for all the ally names we are about to misspell and mispronounce. Caleb Togi Crawford, Edgar Senpai Black Clover, L. Thanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Stephen Thomason, Nick, Walker Hope, Will Schmuck, Alex AI, Alexander Zirianov, Alexander Rees, Ali Cat, Beaten Down Brian, Bradley Speeds, Daniel Portillo, Dave Red, Discarded Digit, Douglas Chomich, Freya Lawson, Hayden Hargraves, Happy Gaming, Jay Shee, Jesse Blue, Jose Gutierrez, Miguel Rivas, Nicole Johnson, Paulo Costabel, Richard G. Flowers, Rob Bob Will, Robert Stoffel, Roy Sung, Sigma, Chum Nguyen, Valmar, Yasser Kerbushi, Zachary Wingate, Adam Henry, Aurelian Grenier, Brad Grenz, Charles Anthony Iapicino, Candy Coated Thorns, Dale Sun, DRD 7 of 14, Gary James, G. Ken, G. Levin, James Vitt, Jan Tyson, John Burns, Jordan Kirk, Catherine Lai, Kroldemort, Luke Bennett, Mango, Marcel Markov, Mark J. Betters II, Matthew Holcomb, Matthew Pauling, Nathan Watkins, Oni Blackmage, Robert Crouch, Ryan Anderson, Sabine T, Sage Mode Q, Sam Handrick, Samsa Stormbaum, Spiral in Your Eyes, Stepan Hakobian, The Banana Forklift Killer, Todd Yurkovic, Rack. Accounts Payable, Adam Lindsay, Adam Sharonbrock, Ahab, Ahmed Al-Rashed, Alex Glass, Alex Lavanier, Alex Monaco, Allison Burt, Andreas Risberg, Andrew Stoke, Andy Marks, Anthony Galvin, Azazel Valkyrie, Barry, Bjornar Haraldsvik, Blake Bonsack, Blue, Blue Water, Blue Sky, Bonnie and Jason Connor, Brandon White, Breadroll Art, Brian Foster, Brittany Fuller, Bunny Chen, C.S. Lewis, Katie Garza, Chase Caldwell, Chief Uhu, Chris the Pianist, Christian Hundorf, Christoph Fatui, Christopher Santis, Clay Roberts, Cody Westley, Colin Hoylman, Corey Jackson, Corey Landega, Craig Happ, Crediar, Culinary Stud, Cyberboa, Dakota Hayes, Damnable Nook, Dan Sebring, Daniel Wong, DanPan16, David Wen, David Wilson, David Boyarski, Delisi, Dimitri Zetas, Don Turner, Dougie B, Eddie Reisner, Edison S. Prada Jr., Eric Maynard, Eric Tobias, Eric Gustafson, Espen Gotchman, Ethan Satz, Ethereal Ether, Faraz Rizvi, Fishflop, Forrest, From the Void, Gabriel Aberg, Glenn Olson, Gustav Strombaum, Hadi Ali, Harrison Holt McHale, Helen Y, Hitman 47, I Sun Chor, Ian Anderson, Ibrahim Sozer, Isaac Swanson, Jay Aldiar, Jake Musser, James Davey, Jameson Lapine, Jana, Jason I, JC3, Jeffrey Ruchtenwald, Jeremy Ferris, Jesse Fish, Jesse Vitelli, Jesse Wilkison, Jethrin, Joel Short, Joey Din, John Gallagher, Jojo Denko, Jonathan and Amy Alconis, Jordan Phillips, Joshua Vanswall, Jose Carlos Madrigal, Julius Garcia, Junio Motomura, Justin Payne, Carl Williams, Lars Berger, Lee Young, Leon Keys, Lindsay Wells, Linson Wu, Liam Ahern, Luis Ibarra, Lion Crown 19, Malcolm Moschette, Malianware, Manuel Thomas, Marcel Giroux 017 Froelich, Marco Hernandez, Materia Addict, Matthias Clare, Matt Ferguson, Matt Karwoski, Matthew Holmes, Matthew Migler, Matthew T. Ryan, Maverick Lee Back, Mazrim Tame, Megadet, Megan McDonough, Michael Bisegli, Michael Clendenan, Michael Kozachenko, Michael Pliskin, Michael Rebelato, Michelle Nubb, Miguel, Mikhail Aniel, Mike Calvi, Mike Hook 1, Mikey Mizek Novak, Misuki 211, Mither Strongbeard, Mo Grant, Molly Bittner, Morpheus, Mr. Anarchy, Natabia Ross, Nefertiti Jenkins, Neil Bruce, Nycrypt, Noah Weinstein, Not Jack, Ulf himself, Orugachino, Pablo Rodriguez, Paul Nolson, Paul Sway, Pete Shoemaker, Philip Higdon, Quinn Riley, RF Switch, Raymond Lee, Reed Johnson, Ritz 1906, Robert I, Roy Eschke, Russell Bateman, Ryan Wagner, Sam Sorensen, Samuel Copeland, Sean Cornett, Sebastian Urban, Sebastian Trier, Silent Consonant, Sneaky Gato, Spencer Stevens, Splontot, S-Snake 24, Strikeout NZ, Super 3D Cow, T-Beaks 15, Tense George, The Classiest Hobo, The Fatty Show, Tim Strothman, Thomas Blaze Fauchereau, Tim Mann, Tim O'Keefe, TJ Sullivan, Toasty Soul, Tom Masterman, Travis Kakowski, Travis Ing, Travis Miosi, Trevor Thomas, Tristan Howard, Trizac, Tuttle, V8 Dave, V. Kira Ray, Vincent Foliat, Volker Bach, Wesley Crusher, Willow Pingree, Wouter DeHaze, Zahid Hosseini Karami, ZK, A Filthy Lot.